we're going to do something a little different, and that is I'm going to invite everyone to find a comfortable place where they don't have to watch the screen, just comfortable where you can be in a space of meditation, where you can be visualizing, and there will be no need to look at the screen. I would invite everyone to lower their gaze or even close their eyes as we move through the adventure of Sagittarius. Noticing your breath, noticing this body supported by the earth. And just being with that body here and now. Whatever came before, falling away, so your focus can be on the words that are coming out of my mouth. And whatever is to happen in the future, it'll happen when the future arises. For this moment, just allow yourself to be. We're going to take a journey into the being of Sagittarius. The Sagittarian person is masculine in nature, having a positive charge. In mythology, this man's trait is represented among the stars as centaur, half animal, half man. He was chosen by the sages of old to picture in the sky the sign of Sagittarius. This is a creature with a dual nature, for their animal propensities are strong, yet they are also well supplied with the higher, nobler, more generous impulses. The body and legs of a horse indicate restlessness, physical activity, and migratory tendencies. Noticing how that image comes into your mind, allowing yourself to start to build the image of this Sagittarian, the one that you imagine. While the upper body is human, and that indicates conservatism, self-control, and executive ability. We note that the horse part, commonly used to carry riders to their destination, the imagery of that helps us to see a horse as a symbol for that which carries man to his goal. Horses thus become the symbol of thoughts, and especially the thoughts which are expressed and thus derived as part of the symbol of Sagittarius. We will move further into the space of thought as you continue to use your imagination to build this entity before you. Let's consider the thoughts of this Sagittarian, as thoughts are one of the most important of all forces. Consequently, it was essential to have them represented in ancient mythology. Their source of origin is associated with the people. The ancients had a recourse to horsemen, as it goes for the twins ruling the house of private thoughts in a natural birth chart. They were often represented on horses. And Sagittarius, ruling the house of publicly expressed thought in a natural birth chart, is a horseman. And so it is that the thoughts and the horsemen come together, both internal and external thoughts. In mental alchemy, there are various ores from which the metals are used in the process of transmutation. They're obtained from different richnesses, and they're not of equal suitability as furnishing the required metals. These ores, they're also not of equal purity or equal value. It is the ingredient and the process that comes into play of the refinement to determine the value and determine how best all of the elements may be used to treat and purify the alchemical work. In spiritual alchemy, for instance, each experience needs to be appraised as to its possibilities of providing spiritual values and determine exactly what attitude will recover the highest percentage of these spiritual values. In mental alchemy, the appraisal is made to determine the value in terms of harmony and treatment necessary to gain these values in highest measure. Such determinations, in the alchemical sense, are secured through the determining the content or quality of the ore, whatever ore we are looking at, physical, spiritual, mental, and that discernment corresponds to Arcanum 7. As we move back to the physical man, and we then later bring 7 together with it, noticing this perfect man or adept possesses and is master of 7 physical senses, 7 psychic senses, 7 states of consciousness. The number 7, denoting the complete gamut of physical life, indicates readiness for transmutation to a new octave of endeavor. The number of action and completion of the form, astrologically, it is what corresponds to Sagittarius. And as explained in various symbological pictographs, represented by the 7th major arcanum of the Tarot, which represents the triumph over all temptations and obstacles of the physically perfect man. Going back to this physically perfect man, noting also in the Tarot that the sign of Sagittarius is a general significator of philosophy, long journeys, publishing, teaching, and out-of-door sports. Therefore, the 7s corresponding numerically to Sagittarius in their more common divinitary significance must relate to those things as applied to the department of life indicated by the suit. For instance, in the 7 of Scepters, teaching or publishing. In the 7 of Cups, change of home. In the 7 of Coins, money earned through a journey. In the 7 of Swords, danger through travel or sport. The Youth of Scepters signifies a person ruled by Sagittarius, benevolent, free, jovial, quick-tempered, energetic, and fond of outdoor sports. Noticing how this image is coming together in your mind of this individual. It's represented in the Egypt letters by Zayn or Zayn, in English by the letter Z. 7 expresses in the spiritual world the septenary domination of spirit over matter. In the intellectual world, the priesthood and the empire. And in the physical world, the submission of the elements and forces of matter to the intelligence and forces of man. Remember then, son of earth, that the empire of the world belongs to them who possess the sovereignty of spirit, that is to say, the light which makes clear the mysteries of life. If the conqueror should appear in the prophetic signs of thy horoscope, it signifies that in breaking through obstacles, thou wilt crush thy enemies, and all thy wishes will be realized if thou attack the future with audacity, armed in the consciousness of the right. Arcanum 7 may briefly be read as victory. Noting that numerically 7, as composed of the numbers 3 and 4, expresses action and completion. It is the number of perfect form on the physical plane. In three-dimensional existence, where perfection of form exists, it will be found that the number 7 expresses it as 3 and 4. 3 are active principles, 4 are reactions or forms. Noting that together they express what is dominated by action, the realization of physical perfection through active effort. This is important as we consider our Sagittarian person or our Sagittarian entity that's building up in our minds. Notice that in the Bible, the prudence of the followers of Jesus caused them to accept him in expectation of finding heaven and escaping hell. And the end for which they hope, both here and hereafter, is Sagittarius, or Major Arcanum 7, again signifying victory. Onward, Christian soldiers, as sung by thousands of Sunday schools, might well be inspired by the picture of Arcanum 7, with its conqueror riding forward to overcome opposition. Sagittarius is a dual sign, adapting itself to both scepter and sword. It is the natural ruler of philosophy and travel, its chief mental characteristics being obedience to the ruling authority, discipline, prompt decision, self-control, and the power to command others. Conservative attributes are well represented by the armor that covers the torso, formed of one or more pieces of metal or other rigid material. Looking elsewhere in the Bible, we can see the imagery from Joseph, who was sold into Egypt as a slave by his siblings, ending up in the dungeon and later being called to interpret Pharaoh's dreams. Joseph said, "I do not interpret the dreams, God does." Pharaoh heard the interpretation and noted immediately that it came from something wise and beyond the human, noting that Joseph could bring that into being, and noting that Pharaoh brought Joseph up to be his second in command. He rose to great power, as indicated by the sword, and in addition to having his command the material forces thus indicated, he also became the interpreter of the divine will, as symbolized by the scepter. In the Bible around Joseph, it also notes that we are looking for those who bow their knees. And amongst the signs, we find the archer, as in relation to the bow, and that is, again, Sagittarius. So as you bring into this beautiful understanding of the archer and the physical attributes, note that the temptations of the physical world have been surmounted and the neophyte has gained complete mastery of the self. The body is under the control of a disciplined will, and whatever knowledge concerning spiritual things is obtainable in the external world that has been gained. Noting that as you do your visualization, if your mind attempts to wander, it is the mind attempting to go outside of this mastery of self-control of the mind, of its focus, of its physical temperament, of its mental polarity, of its spiritual aspirations, noting that when all are in complete harmony, all will then bring you to victory. Sagittarius is the 9th sign of the zodiac. It's ruled by Jupiter, the planet of beneficence. The 9th house of a birth chart, over which Sagittarius has its natural rule, governs long journeys and air travel, also teaching, lecturing, preaching, publishing, radio broadcasting, and all other means by which opinions are expressed to others. Bringing to mind the imagery now as we go back to this person in our mind, a person with a fiery temperament. Sagittarius is part of the fiery triplicity, in fact, the third degree of emanation of the fiery state of life. The Sagittarian shows up as an optimistic and positive person. Even in bad or difficult situations, with an energetic and sometimes hasty demeanor, this person is noticeably enthusiastic, along with being self-reliant, being full of zeal, courageous, and daring. This person loves and craves activity. The Sagittarian also has natural ability as we visualize to command others, noticing this command, but also this ability to be subservient to the power above. This ability to command others is referred to as inspiration. Sagittarians can ride the happy medium between excessive activity of the movable signs and the stubborn resistance of the fixed signs. Being part of those members of the third degree of emanation, this Sagittarian will also act less from their own feelings, ideas, and inward yearnings than from the ideas and attitudes that have reached them from without. Imagine how liquid can force its way through an aperture as easily as gas. It cannot force its way through an aperture as easily as gas. But once the channel has been established, the liquid will quickly flow through in the line of least resistance. Noticing this is part of the imagery you're imagining and the ability of this Sagittarian. The Sagittarians, as adaptable person, are the developers, and they tend to do it through their own inner nature with reserve. This is a forceful being. As free and energetic as it is loyal and patriotic and charitable. There is the love of hunting, as shown by the bow, and also this quickness to fight for others. Noting that the Sagittarius requires fresh air and exercise, recreation is very important to him. He tends to burn up his vitality through over-intensity. His best quality is the loyalty, and his worst quality can be sportiveness. He is philosophically inclined, noticing that as an attribute of the ninth house. Unless given opportunity for open-air recreations, he is apt to develop a morbid self-examination. He is frank and outspoken in his opinions, and invariably he is caught if he attempts to deceit or be dishonest. He lives at his best when he has found a work in life so interesting to him that it becomes a game in which success is the hazard. Thoughts ruled by this sign belong to the comprehension series. Noticing now this image that has come into your head. I also note that C.C. Zane, the author of the 210 Brotherhood of Light Lessons, was a name that was conjured from the space of Sagittarius, and also Maria M. Benjamin, whose wifely sympathy and constant assistance contributed markedly to the letter of the work of C.C. Zane, also had significant Sagittarian energy. In the weather, Sagittarius, in its influence over temperament, is not hot like Aries or Leo, but is decidedly warm, insofar as it is a prominent factor in the temperature chart. The weather to be expected is bright, clear, sunshiny, and warm. It favors neither clouds nor fog, but tends to make visibility exceptionally good. The wind it brings is of moderate source and has an invigorating quality. As we go back again to Sagittarius, number 7, letter Z, colors light purple, tone high A, talismanic gem, the red garment. And finally note the locations of Sagittarius as countries being Aruba, Australia, Dalmatia, Cape Finisterre, Hungary, Madagascar, Moravia, Provence in Spain, Slovenia, Spain, Tuscany, Felix, Istria, the cities in town, Avignon, Toledo, Rottenburg, Bromwich, Bradford, Toronto, Sunderland, Budapest, Cologne, Stuttgart, Narbonne, Sheffield, and Nottingham. Noticing as you have brought this imagery about in your mind of the perfect Sagittarian, we will end this meditation and move into the space that further allows you to engage your image of this Sagittarian in its play with the energy and the environment.